Hello, welcome to Criminal Investigation. My name is Walter Smith, and I'm going to be your instructor in this course. If I asked you as a group to close your eyes and picture all the components that make up this thing we call a criminal justice system, one of the key components that I about guarantee at least 90% of you are going to imagine in your head is criminal investigation. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. One, it is a key core component and tool that we use in the criminal justice system in reaching our overall goals of keeping your community safe. But also, it's very much in the forefront of our minds because we see it all the time in news stories or in television shows, things like Forensic Files or CSI, where we see these criminal investigative techniques put on display for the world to see. And so it gathers a lot of interest. It looks very exciting, very glamorous at times, and it's very much at the forefront of our thinking about the criminal justice process. Now, as you're going to see as we move forward in this class, there's a big difference between what we see on TV and what happens in real life in criminal investigations. TV, movies, and the like sensationalize things. They cut corners. They do things to make the show that you're watching more entertaining so that you'll watch. They're designed to drive viewership. There's nothing wrong with that. That's their job. They get money by sponsors who pay to put commercials on their shows, and the more eyes they get on that show, the more money they get from those commercials. They're doing their job. But in the process of that, things can seem a bit different in the sensationalized version of criminal investigation and forensics that you're going to see on TV and the reality of the day-to-day grind that is the criminal investigation process. So over the next several weeks, what we're going to do is take a deep dive into this investigative process. We're going to look at key things like forensic evidence, crime scene reconstruction, interview and interrogation techniques, and all the like, as we make our way through understanding how a case goes from initial contact that something's happened to getting that case prepared to go to court and all the things that entails. And so as we move forward in this journey, please feel free to contact me, reach out to me with any questions that you have. But first and foremost, before we get into those real meat and potatoes part of the course, I want to take a few minutes and just review some of the structure and the functionality of the course so that you understand how the course is arranged, what's expected of you as a student, what you can expect of me as a professor. And that way we get off on the right footing as we move forward into the actual depth of knowledge and skills and understanding we're going to need to truly understand the criminal investigative process. So come on, let's start by looking at the syllabus. This is what the course syllabus looks like. Now, I want to preface our discussion by just letting you know we're not going to cover the entire course syllabus today. That would take a really long time. I know how valuable your time is, and I'm not going to ask that much of you in this video. So with knowing that, I do ask that you go in later when you have some free time and just read the rest of the syllabus, because there's some really good information in there that could be very valuable to you as you go through the semester. What we're instead going to do is focus on the highlights, the parts of the course syllabus that directly relates to the nuts and bolts of this class, how it's structured, how it's going to function, how it's going to flow, what you can expect from me, what I expect from you, that kind of stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. First thing you're going to see is information about what this course is. CRJ 204, Criminal Investigation, of course how many credits it is, what semester we're in, all that kind of important information. Just below that, you're going to see some information about a voluntary, and I want to stress, this is completely voluntary. This is an option to you if you choose to take advantage of it. Every Wednesday, we have a virtual and live class session from 1 to 2:30. You can choose to attend if you want to. You don't have to attend, but if you choose to take advantage of this and want to attend, you can either attend virtually through Blackboard or in person at the Hazard Campus, First Federal Center, room 227. These are Wednesday from 1 to 2:30. Now again, this is just an option for each student to decide whether or not they want to participate in this. I would advise that you do attend some of these sessions if you can, because it gives you an opportunity to engage with the material a little bit more, ask questions, learn from your peers, get a little bit more depth of knowledge about the subject matter that we're talking about. It's just a really good opportunity for students. And so if you have an opportunity, I'd advise you take advantage of it. But I also understand you're really busy people. This is an online class, and so there is no requirement that you do so. This is a 100% online course. You can complete this course, get all the points, and never set foot on campus or ever log into a virtual session. This is just an option that's available to you should you choose to take advantage of it. Below that, you're going to see some important dates. First important date is the start date. That was last Monday, the 9th. This class operates, typically, we start a module or a week on Monday and it runs till end of day, midnight that Sunday. Okay. I say typically because sometimes, like next week, there's President's Day. There's a holiday on Monday and the college is closed. On those days, the week or module will start on that Tuesday and run through that Sunday. The other exception to that rule is finals week, because finals week does not run all the way to Sunday. The class is closed before that, and so there'll be an earlier end date to that week or module for the final exam. But other than that, we run Monday to Sunday. The assignments start on that Monday, and everything in that module is due by end of day Sunday. Now, with that said, I'm not sitting by my computer, just waiting to shut it off and catch students not submitting assignments right at midnight on Sunday night. I'm resting, getting ready for work the next day, getting ready to teach another class on Monday. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to even look to see who's turned in what or what's going on until I get to my computer Monday. So if you turn in an assignment at 6 a.m. Monday morning, to me that's on time, because it was there when I sat down to start grading. To me, that's on time. Now, Blackboard, of course, will let me know, hey, this was late, but I'll completely ignore it. I don't care. And it's on time. So if you're trying to get that last assignment in before midnight and it's going to run a little bit over and you're freaking out, don't worry. It won't count as being late, because to me, as long as it's there when I sit down to grade, it's on time. Second date there that's really important is the no-show. Okay, that's this coming Monday. Students who aren't actively participating in class have to be reported to Student Services as a no-show in the class. In order to be considered active in this class, I just need you to go in and do the syllabus quiz. It's in the Start Here module. I'll show you exactly where that is here in just a minute. Just go in there, do that so that I know you're active in the class. The two other important dates there are about withdrawing from the course. Now, I do ask that if you're going to withdraw from a course, or for one of my courses, that you contact me, even if it's before you have to get my permission to withdraw. And that's because maybe I can help you. I understand we're all adults. Life throws challenges at us. Sometimes there's just no way you can continue in the class, and you just got too much on you. But sometimes there may be some resources that I can point you toward, or maybe we can come up with some type of a plan that will help you stay on track and be successful in the class. So reach out to me. We'll see if we can work together to make you able to be able to finish this class successfully. But if you just have to withdraw, then you just have to withdraw. Before 3/22, March 22nd, you don't have to get my permission. After that, you have to get my permission. Now, with that said, again, I understand everybody in here is an adult. And everybody in here has a life to live and responsibilities and commitments and everything else, and life happens sometimes. And if you want to withdraw from this course, I do ask again that you reach out to me so I can try to help you find a way to be successful. But if you just have to withdraw from this course, I'm never not going to give you that permission. The caveat to that is, please contact me before that May 1st deadline, because that's a deadline set by the college that I can't change. And if you come to me at finals week, and this has happened before, and tell me you want to withdraw from the class, no matter how much I want to help you, I don't have the authority or the power to do so. At that point, the college has taken that out of the hands of the instructor, and it's an administrative issue. So please, if you need to withdraw, contact me before that May 1st deadline. Next, we've got our course description. This basically provides an overview of what this class is going to be about. I already kind of did that in the intro, so we'll kind of skip that, but you can read it if you want to. Next is the course competencies. Think of these as kind of like the goals of the course. When you complete this course, these are the things we expect you to understand and be able to do. So, identify the goals of a criminal investigative process, different types of investigation, the role of logic, analysis, and inference, and the history of criminal investigations. Identify the standards of proof, types of evidence, functions of evidence, and the rules of admissibility of evidence. Number 3, summarize crime scene management, process the crime scene, and understand the types of physical evidence. 4, identify the process of interviews, conducting interrogations, obtaining confessions, and obtaining information from other sources. Number 5, identify and describe criminal investigations of violent crimes and property crimes. And number 6, summarize the documentation and the presentation of evidence, as well as the future of criminal investigations. All course materials are housed within Blackboard. You don't have to buy a book at the bookstore. That's already embedded in your Blackboard shell. And I'll show you how to get to that here in a minute. Now, with that said, the only thing you should need to do at the publisher's site is read the textbook. You don't have to do the quizzes and all that stuff that's on the publisher's site. Sometimes I have students that go in there and do all that work and think that they're progressing in the class, and I don't even have access to even see if you're doing that. That's just kind of practice stuff. All the assignments you'll need to complete are actually in the Blackboard shell, and I'll show you how to access them here in just a minute. So the only thing you should be linking to the publisher site to do is actually read the textbook. Okay, we're all adults in this class. And as adults, we all have commitments and responsibilities and a lot of things going on in our lives outside of this classroom. I understand that. And I understand sometimes, no matter how much we want to, it can be almost impossible to make a deadline here and there. With that said, I'm not big on, decreasing points or something for a late assignment. But I do need you to reach out to me and let me know why these assignments are late, what's going on. Because if all I see is assignments not being turned in, and you haven't talked to me, you haven't let me know what's going on, then all I'm left with is they're just not turning it in because they don't want to turn it in. And that might be the furthest thing from the truth. I want to help you be successful in this course, but I promise you I'm not a psychic. And so you have to let me know what you need to be successful in this course. Now, with that said, if a student misses or turns in late 3 or more assignments without contacting me or getting them excused, then it triggers you needing to contact me to set up a plan to get you back on track. Now, this isn't a punishment. It's actually more work on me, to be honest with you, but it's work worth doing because it's helping you be successful. It's a process for us to come up with a way that you can turn in your assignments and get caught up in an efficient and effective way that matches the needs that you have. Maybe you need resources, maybe you need some extra tutoring, whatever it is, we need to help you try to get back on track. And this is the best way I know to be able to do that. So if you have 3 or more unexcused missed assignments or late assignments, you haven't talked to me about them, then you're going to need to contact me about setting up a meeting so we can come up with some type of strategic plan to get you back on track before any other assignments according to the syllabus will be accepted. So just keep that in mind. All assignments turned in will be graded within a week of you turning in those assignments. Now, used to I would do that on Wednesdays. We're doing this class on Wednesday, so I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But within a week, you should have your grades. Now, sometimes that's impossible for me to do. I may be away at conference. something else might be going on. But for the most part, that's the truth. Now, with that said, if you turned in an assignment late, because we already talked about, I'm a little bit lenient on that if they're a little bit late, as long as you're contacting me and keeping in touch. If you do turn in an assignment late, know that the grading for that assignment is going to be late as well. And that's because after that module's done and we've moved as a class on to the next module, I'm helping students with that material. I'm helping students stay on track with what we're doing that week. And so I've moved on as well. And Blackboard doesn't bing me. It doesn't send me an email or a message that says, hey, this past assignment, somebody else submitted something. Come over here and grade me. And so I have to go back and look and see who's turned in assignments for past due dates. So for instance, let's say it's module 7 and somebody turns in a late assignment for module 3. I'm not going to go back in the middle of doing all this other stuff and look in every single module at all the assignments up to this point in every single class I've got. I just don't have the time to do that. I will periodically, and it will get graded, but it will not get graded in that 1 week time frame, and it'll probably be several weeks before it gets graded. So just know that if you're turning it in late, that's part of the deal. It's going to be late getting graded as well. Now, this is a 1,000-point system class. 900 to 1,000 points in A, 800 to 899 is a B, 700 to 799 is a C, 600 to 699 is a D, and anything below 600 is an E. There's 3 different ways you can get 1,000 points in this class. It doesn't matter to me how you get that 1,000 points, but you pick an option and you go through that option and you get your points, and that's how you get the grade that you want. Option 1 is you complete this class as a completely online, 100% asynchronous class, which means you never attend any virtual sessions, you never come to campus at all or need to set foot on campus. You can do all of your assignments, everything in Blackboard at your own convenience. And that's a completely okay way to complete this class. As a matter of fact, that's the way this class is usually taught. This is kind of an experiment this semester. So the traditional way of every week there's a weekly quiz that just lets me know that you're staying current with the material, that you're understanding the material, that you're not falling behind. A weekly discussion board that gives you an opportunity to interact with other students, discuss key topics within the class. There are 2 exams, one about halfway through the course and one on finals week. Exam 1 covers roughly the first half of the class. Exam 2 covers roughly the second half of the class. So neither one of them covers everything. They kind of cover their own sections. A research paper that we'll talk more about in Blackboard. And investigative training assignments. There are 4 of those spread out, that are due the last day of finals module. So, if you want to complete track 1, all you have to do is read the materials, read your textbook, watch the weekly recording of these class sessions, and do these assignments, and you'll knock it out. Second way you can get to your 1,000 points, or however many points you want, is the synchronous virtual option, which means you attend virtually the live class sessions, and when you do that, you don't have to do the weekly quiz or the discussion board. Reason for that is the purpose of the weekly quiz was what? It was to see if you're keeping up with the material, if you were understanding it, make sure you're not falling behind. We can do all that in a live class session where there's interaction and we're discussing a topic. So there's no need for a quiz. It's happening right there in real time. Same way with the discussions. We'll talk about what's in the discussion board in class. So there's really no point in having you go out there and then write it in a discussion board format. We've discussed it in class. So you don't have to do a weekly quiz. You don't have to do a weekly discussion board. All you have to do as far as assignment-wise is the exam, the term paper, and the investigative assignments. That's it. Weekly quizzes and discussion boards go away because we take care of those in class. That's a perfectly good way to also get your 1,000 points in this class. The third one is if you decide to attend in person. First Federal Center has their campus from 227. Then, again, you get credit for the class sessions instead of the weekly quizzes, the live discussions instead of discussion boards, but you also don't have to complete the investigative assignments. You just have to do the exams and the term paper if you attend live. So either one of those 3 tracks you want to do to get to the 1,000 points, that is completely up to you. Now you might ask, what if I can attend some sessions but I can't attend others? Then the way you would do that is, if you attend the virtual session or the live session, for that particular week, you wouldn't have to do that week's or that module's discussion board or quiz for that week. This would compensate for that grade. But if you have to miss a session, then you would go in and do that quiz and the discussion board for that module so that you still get the points and stay up to date. So this is basically weeks that you attend, you don't have to do those. Weeks that you don't, you still have to do the weekly quiz and discussion board. All right, with that said, I want to jump over to Blackboard and kind of show you how it flows and give you an idea of where to find everything. Okay, once you open Blackboard, this is pretty much what you should see. Mine probably looks a little bit different because I'm the instructor, but this will show the flow and let you know where everything is. The first thing you're going to see is the content area. That's where you start out at. That's where you're going to find your assignments, your readings, all that kind of good stuff. There's a calendar here that we're just not going to use. Any announcements will be stored here that I might post. Discussions here, grade book, you can check your grades here. Okay, so let's go down here and look at the flow of some of this stuff. Here's the watch this first Blackboard navigation video. Just kind of shows you how to find things, how to navigate Blackboard. The next thing you're going to see is the research paper instructions. I put this at the top even though it's not due until the last day of class at finals week, because you should be working on this throughout the semester. This isn't something you should wait till the last minute and start working on. So when you open this up, you're not going to see a submission area, but you are going to see the instructions for the paper. It's a 2 to 3 page paper. It's a research paper. I give a grading rubric, what it's going to be graded on, why these things are important. All students who are HCTC students have access to a free version of Microsoft Office, which includes Word. And if you want to, you can download that and do your papers in Microsoft Word. The one thing I will say right here is that, though, a lot of students have gotten in the habit of submitting links to papers and other assignments for a grade. The problem with that is that I don't work for, if you're a dual credit, the high school that you go to, or I may not oftentimes have access to be able to log in and get those papers that you're linking. So if you do that, no, you're going to get a 0 in the grade book. Now, I will also put in there that if you email me a copy of that paper that I can access, I will update your grade. But just to avoid that, just go ahead and send the actual paper, not a link to the paper on some cloud storage device. Here is an automatic APA reference formatting tool that you can use when you're doing your works cited page. Some students have asked me in the past for what are some examples of topics we can talk about in our papers. Here's just some examples. They're in no way suggestions. These are just some things to get you thinking about some topics you might want to look into. Here are some videos that are very helpful. They're short, but they're very informative. Writing a research paper takes you into what is a research paper. It's not an opinion piece. It's not an argumentative paper. A research paper is all about presenting your research and analyzing it. And this video goes into detail on that. I think it's less than about 10 minutes. It'll do you a world of good if you watch this video before you do your paper. There's also one on how to find academic sources, because you want to make sure that your sources are strong. In a research paper, it's all about presenting what you found in your research and analyzing it. If your research that you're presenting is from faulty sites, then your entire research paper may be skewed because you're basing it on that faulty information that you got from an unreliable source. So make sure you watch this to find out what is a true academic source. For example, news sites are not acceptable as academic sources for this paper. And that's not to say that we think there's fake news and all that, and that's the reason. It's because news sources are not supposed to provide detailed academic level information about a subject. They report on a topic. And sometimes they report in the moment when all the information isn't available. That's their job to do. And as more information comes in, they'll correct themselves. They'll say, we've got this new information and now we know this. But you may have got an article that was written before that new information came in. So make sure you're getting academic sources and know what that means. Here's a video on understanding plagiarism that is really good if you need some information about what constitutes plagiarism and all that kind of stuff. So those are some videos that might be helpful to you and some information about the research paper. The investigative training assignments, we already talked about those. You'll find those housed here, and they're all due on the last day of class, which is May 7th. And then this is where we're at this week, Start Here module. The reason I do this is because I want you to have a good grasp of how the course is structured and how we're going to go about doing things before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of the course. And so I wanted to make sure that you had that time to really deep dive into the syllabus and into all the resources that you have before we move forward. Now this video will be right here in this week 1. That's why it says hidden from students right now, because the video isn't there yet. Course expectations. These are the expectations presented by the college, but I do agree with every one of them. If you want to be successful in this course, these are 6 really good suggestions. Be on time and stay on track. Don't get behind because it's so hard to catch back up. If you get too far behind, we got to get together and figure out a way and make a plan to help you get back on track. Be ready to learn. Communicate often. Let me know. Do you have questions? Is there something you need more explanation of? Do you need more resources? What can I do to help you be successful? Participate in the classroom. Do the assignments. Get in the discussion board. Do the work. And do your own work, number 5. Don't just copy and paste from AI source or some website or something. Do your own work. Look, we are criminal justice students. At some point, you probably want a job, if you're in this class, where you're responsible for the lives of other people. You may even be asking us to let you carry a gun in our communities and keep the peace. How can we honestly, and I just want you to be honest with yourself, how can you ask us to do that and to put that much trust in you if we can't trust you not to cheat on an assignment in a college level course? I mean, seriously, if you can't even be honest enough to do that, what's that say about how honest you're going to be when you're out there on the streets? 6, be organized and responsible. We're all adults, and that means things come up, and I understand that, but that also means you should have a certain amount of responsibility. You know what's due, you know what's expected, meet those expectations. If you can't, if there's something that's a barrier or you need some help, contact me. That's your responsibility so that you can get the help that you need. Course information. This is just the same stuff we already talked about. Kind of why it matters, the class, the goals, competencies, all that kind of good stuff. Instructor information, contact information for me. Again, I'm not going to post this on Blackboard, but it's got my cell phone number. You can call, you can text. It's got my office number on campus. It's got my email address. It's got my office hours and all that kind of good stuff. This is where the syllabus is. Here's a copy of the textbook, which will link you to the McGraw-Hill website where our textbook is housed. Course schedule, same one you'll find in your syllabus. Grading policy. Detailed assignment directions. This will be opened up soon. And it just details all the assignments and gives some strong, detailed instructions about how they're to be completed. Information on different college offices that you may need to contact, financial aid, admissions, disability services, all that kind of stuff. Academic resources and services, student resources and services that we offer, career information that might be valuable to you, Blackboard support. If you have a problem with Blackboard, contact me first. It may be something we can straighten out. With my technological skills, it may be something that I did that messed up Blackboard. So just contact me, let me know, and we'll try to work it out first together. And then if we can't, then we'll reach out, do a Blackboard ticket, and get people who actually know what they're doing rather than me to come in and fix the problem. There's the syllabus quiz. We already talked about that. That needs to be done this week before midnight Sunday or before I come in and grade Monday, hint, hint, so that you can be considered active in the course. This is a odd week because we're mostly going over the structure and function of the class. The rest of the modules are going to look like Module 2. And if you look at the top of the module, it'll have Module 1, Module 2. It just means Week 1 or Week 2. The title of what we're going to do, and then the dates that correspond. So again, this class won't start until Tuesday because it's President's Day next week and run until that following Sunday at midnight. Course overview, this will tell you what you need to read and what assignments you need to do for that week. This is the chapter that we're going to be going over, Chapter 2. This is a PowerPoint that's only there for you to use if you choose to study with. Okay, it's just something there for you if you feel like it helps you to use. Module video, that's where we'll house recordings of our weekly sessions. And then the quiz and the discussion board. And then once that module's done, you'll come down to the next module and so forth. That's pretty much the way this class is set up. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm willing to help you in any way that I can. I hope you have a great semester. I'm certainly looking forward to working with each and every one of you and helping you achieve both your academic and career goals. So I guess if there's nothing else, I will see you all next week. Have a great one.